On our most recent live show, we explored a few more modes in the Hemisphere Suite alternative firmware for Ornament Crime. One of them, LofiTape, allows for audio and CV looping with some noticeable digital quality loss. The term lo-fi, short for low fidelity, refers to the degraded audio quality at which LofiTape records, 2 kHz per second sample rate at an 8-bit depth. Sample rate determines the number of times per second an analog wave is sampled and converted into digital audio, while bit depth determines how detailed each of those tiny samples are, similar to frame rate and resolution with video. Today, high-quality audio is typically recorded at 48 kHz per second, with 32 bits of depth. Even minute alterations to these settings can begin to introduce digital artifacts that might be identified as lo-fi, so the drastically lowered quality in this mode will be obvious. Lo-fi mode is capable of recording up to 1 second, yes, 1 second, of audio or CV signal, which can be routed in for looping to CV input 1. CV input 2 can be modulated to control the mix of the clean and looped signals. Gate input 1 pauses playback of the loop when high. Gate input 2 starts and stops recording. Output A is the signal out, while B sends an end-of-cycle trigger at the end of each loop cycle. Let's patch a beat coming from the already slightly lo-fi radio music into CV input 1. Pushing the encoder, sound will be recorded and looped. Using a DC offset or a one-step sequence routed to CV input 2, we can fade between the looping signal and the clean input signal. 0 volts gives us the looped signal, while 5 volts gives us the input signal. Turning the encoder shortens and elongates the looping segment of the recorded signal. This can be really fun at short settings, especially when we use a trigger or push the encoder to re-loop tiny chunks of audio. LofiTape mode can be useful just as an instant downsampler and bit crusher when only the input signal is mixed in. A low-pass filter at around 10 kHz might be useful in the signal chain as well, a quirk commonly heard in Lofi Beats. LofiTape is also great for recording and looping CV signals. The low sample and bit rate might be less noticeably destructive to most CV signals, especially sequences. Routing a signal from the voltage block to CV input 1, and then out from output A to the 1 volt per octave input on our oscillator, plates, the functionality of LofiTape is otherwise the same as before. The sequence can be recorded and looped using the encoder button or gate input 1. The input signal can be blended with the looped chunk using a DC offset or signal to CV input 2. Try routing the end-of-cycle trigger out to your volume envelope, while looping sequences control the oscillator pitch. Adjusting the loop length will change the rate of the end-of-cycle triggers. It's also interesting to re-record CV in these extremely short chunks, giving us endless glitchy results. LofiTape is probably not the all-around looping solution you're looking for. However, it's an extremely fun tool for sound design and digital deconstruction of signals. I'd love to see a macro version of this with CV modulation of loop length, but hey, there's always clouds. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to join us Saturdays at noon Pacific Standard Time for our Mod City live show, streaming right here. And remember, patch smarter.